Dr. Kevin Brown, welcome to Profile.
Thank you.
Absolutely delighted to have you, by the way. Quite a resume and so much to go into. I will start with the Cliff Notes version for those who may not be as familiar with you. So, President of the University of Technology, the 5th president so far. And your story, born in Grange Hill, Westmoreland, raised by mother, Barbara Campbell, postmaster, and your grandmother, and then a sort of a childhood shaped by curiosity, excelled at Herbert Morrison Technical High School, where you passed 7 CXCs and played on the school's historic cricket team. Then you transitioned to CAST, which is the precursor to UTech right now. Then you studied mechanical engineering and became president of the Students' Union. That's an interesting journey by itself. Won a Ford Motor Company scholarship funded by your grandmother's sacrifice. We'll talk a little bit about that. Went to University of Nottingham, earning both master's and PhD degrees. And that's just some of the work. Spent over a decade at Rolls-Royce in the UK, rising to technology project lead. Holds patents in the US and the UK, published widely, and a co-founder of a telecom startup. When you listen to all of this, what do you think?
Well, I think, out of adversity, I've achieved quite a lot. When I reflect on my humble beginnings, and if I even go back to where my grandmother, my maternal grandparents lived in Dias, Middlesex, Hanover, and my grandmother was a market trader, a higgler, but she had a determination that her children would not follow in her path, and so she was a strong campaigner for education. She made sure my mom and my aunt were educated. And that was a principle that my mom used, with me as well. But my mom actually met my dad in Bogwalk. I was conceived in Bogwalk because that was the start of my mom's 30-odd year career in the post and telecommunications. When my mom was about to give birth, she decided to move back to Western Jamaica. And so I was actually born in Corner Regional Hospital because as coincidence would have it, my aunt was pregnant at the time. So I guess they decided that they would support each other. And so she moved back to the West. And sadly, my father didn't follow. So as I was told, after I was born, he came to visit me once as a baby and then disappeared. I grew up not even knowing what my father looked like, so I spent over 30 years thinking about my father, but, eventually I found him, and we have been making up for lost time. But I encourage men out there to be fathers. It was very impactful on my life, and that time has passed, but I encourage all men out there to take care of their children, even if it doesn't work out between you and the mother.
And in fact, that has shaped somewhat your own relationship with the children, which we'll talk a little bit later on. But I want to talk first about the relationship with your mother and you say your maternal grandmother. What kind of relationship did you have with your mother? She was a postmaster.
Yeah, so my mom, when she moved back to the West, she stayed in the West. And so her telecommunications career took off. She became a postmaster, starting out at Frome Post Office for a while, and then moved to the Grange Hill Post Office. So I actually attended Grange Hill Primary School, a school in the middle of nowhere in rural Jamaica, and initially she lived on the post office building, so I grew up on the post office, watching my mom work. We lived upstairs on top of the post office, and sadly, during that time, the post office was robbed. So my mom was totally traumatized. I was as well. I think as a child, perhaps it's now, as an adult,
you can realize the significance of it.
Yes, absolutely. And I get emotional. But at the time, I was just taking on the whole experience, watching my mom trying to navigate that whole situation. So we started to... My mom could not go back into the house. It was not something she could do. So my best friend, his family took us in for a while. Then someone else took us in. Eventually, though, she was transferred to Lucy. And then we had another challenge because I had passed from Mannings High School, and I was excited to go to Mannings. It's a good school, still is a good school in the West. And I was looking forward to going to Mannings with my friends. but it wasn't meant to be. So she now started to try and find a high school closer to where we lived. First went to Rossi's. Rossi's said no vacancy. Then she went to Montego Bay, which is now 1 hour by bus from Lucy. And she went to Cornwall at the time, Cornwall College, which was a good school at that time. And Cornwall said no. So she marched me down to Herbert Morrison Technical High School. Herbert Morrison Technical High School had a sign outside, no vacancies. But my mom still went inside, and she would not leave the principal's office until I was given a place at Herbert Morrison. Now, Herbert Morrison at the time was not known for its academic attainment. It was a football school. This was a DaCosta Cup football school.
And a technical high school, so not the traditional high school that people would have wanted to be their first choice.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you know what? I made the best of my experience there, and I had a great time at Herbert Morrison. It shaped me insofar as becoming an engineer, because from primary school, I knew I wanted to be an engineer. I was fascinated by all things machinery. My mom, we had a screwdriver, and I would break down everything in the house. I'd go into her radio, her fans, her stereo. And, I have to thank my mom because she never once punished me. She never once stopped me.
She saw it as a good thing, or she just allowed it?
She just allowed it. She just allowed it. And I narrate it to her every now and then, and she just smiles. I think she saw something, and she just allowed me to explore. I destroyed all her appliances, but she just bear the losses. And so going to Herbert Morrison, and this is why I'm a great defender of technical high schools, you are streamed off at grade 10 into various disciplines. At Herbert Morrison, you had engineering, and so I was streamed off into engineering to do CXC, now called CSEC, in electrical technology, mechanical technology, technical drawing. And I really excelled at technical drawing to the point where my teacher decided to give me a stretch exercise. So I have a grade A in technical drawing GCSE O-levels and a grade 1 in CXC as well.
So this is where what you're doing in life, just in everyday life, pulling everything apart, started to translate into the academic field, and you started to sort of understand what you wanted to do. And I want to talk a little bit about what that would mean in terms of where you would go on to next. But we have to take our first break on Profile. Still with me is Dr. Kevin Brown. He is the president of the University of Technology, and we're back with you after these messages.